Welcome to this episode of Let's Chat. I'm your host, Chris Revel, coming from the Cat Cave in Warwick, Rhode Island. Let's Chat is a long-form conversational podcast where we interview guests from the world of podcasting, punk rock, and pop culture. We've got a wonderful episode today. We have Ash Blodgett, returning guest, and Pat Edwards, fellow returning guest, and I could not be happier. On a real personal note, this is a really big win to me. So I started this podcast in 2013. Within maybe the first year and a half, when I think I started getting past the point where I was interviewing friends and learning how to use Skype. One of the earliest people I met that I looked up to was doing really cool shit on the internet was Ash, because she had the YouTube, and still has the YouTube channel LaughstashTV, and been a fan. Ash was on this show twice, a couple times. The first time was 5 years ago. I had to look it up. It was back in 2015. Feels like a lifetime ago. It's 2 apartments ago, years before my daughter would even be born. I love any time you get a moment where you just kind of stop and think of how much your life has changed in 5 years, for better or worse. And for the first time in 2020, I could say for better, I'm actually recording this intro on the same day we found out the news that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have won. And I have to have a very special shout out to my amazing, supportive, wonderful wife, Victoria. She was part of a group, worked with this group called Supermajority to communicate and connect and make plans to help people vote. And her group was in Pennsylvania, and her group reached more voters in Supermajority than anywhere else in the country. Together, they reached 72,000 voters in Pennsylvania. And to make this more special, not only did Victoria do this, she brought in my mother-in-law, her mom, Patricia, and my mom, Carol, and some of my mother-in-law's friends, and they reached 72,000 people. So shout out to all of you, and for Carrie who runs it. I don't know what to say. That's turned out to be a state that really important. So I know we usually kind of avoid election talk, but I'm just so proud I had to say that. Another great thing about this episode is Ash is the one who actually connected me with Pat Edwards. Pat was a guest about 3 months ago, back in September. We were August or September we had recorded. That's a fun episode you can go back and listen to as well. And really hit it off and just kind of became good buds immediately. And then, of course, he drops this in the middle, like that, towards the end of this episode, he drops that he has a Mandalorian podcast on Geekly Inc., which I've now been listening to, Bunker Buddies, which I'm fucking obsessed with the Mandalorians and very much obsessed with their podcast. I really like it a lot. Yeah, it's going to be my new companion. So, God, this was just really fun. It was just super fun to catch up with an old friend, and then Pat's a new friend to me, and so it was really special, and it meant a lot. And the fact that they came out to promote Joining Call, which is coming out on November 20th on LaughstashTV YouTube channel. Joining Call sounds amazing as well, and they made this movie in quarantine, and this is such a fun episode because there's a lot of geeky and fun, nerdy, silly talk, but also we get to this nitty gritty about filmmaking and how the fuck do you write and make a movie in quarantine, and they did it, and I can't wait to see it. It's going to be incredible. I know Ify Nadaway is in it, who's someone I'm a huge fan of, so when I heard that as well, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, Ash and Pat are just the fucking coolest, and they know everyone, and I'm just super happy to call these people friends. I'm going to be recording my guest spot on their podcast, Let's Rewatch, which is another podcast I fucking love, which I highly recommend. I'm really excited. I'm recording this a night earlier than usual for myself because I get to chat with Pat and Ash again, and Brett and Sam. Can't wait to see you all tomorrow, whenever people hear this. Anyway, some quick Let's Chat news. We got a lot going on here. We just got our TeePublic store up. You can find us on tpublic.com/Let's Chat Podcast. I've already had some people sending in pictures of them and their shirts. Please send them your way. Please, please, please. We got stickers, mugs, sweatshirts, t-shirts, whatever you need. If you're out there and maybe you don't have the financial means to make a purchase through TeePublic, write to us. We got some stickers or something we'll send to you, and some magnets. We'd love to connect to anyone who's asking. Also, our other thing we're doing is part of our new Let's Chat, since our team with Bree and Mike and Ball our team with Bree and Ball and Mike is really fucking working our asses off, and it's been so much fun to see it. We have some great stuff to come up. But if you haven't already, but you can check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Tuesdays at 8:30, we do a live show called Let's Chat Live. That's hosted by producers Brianna Benjamin and Christopher Ball. I am a producer, and sometimes I kind of rotate and co-host, and that's been really fun. We talk to up-and-coming podcasters about podcasting and why they want to do it, and it's been a lot of fun. Make sure you check that out. And the best part of what we have is now we have an affiliate program, which you can check all the details out at letschatpodcast.net. And really been a ton of fun. It's been something that has been... Yes, we now have our affiliate program, which we've started. We've already got some great people signed up that have been fun to work with. So basically, do you need help with your social media? Do you want like tips, tricks to get more listeners? Want to be part of kind of a growing team? Essentially, we're a community of fellow like-minded podcasters who are all looking to kind of build and grow, and when we take this shit seriously. This is the stuff that we're looking for people like us, like Martine, like Ball and Bree and myself. Like I go to bed, I'm thinking about what we're doing with Let's Chat, and when I wake up, it's one of my first thoughts outside of gotta get the kid out. We've got some great people on there: the Dumbed Out Found Dead podcast, Game On podcast, Cinema Recall, Defining Disney, The Broken Brain, Cyber Time Bite, In the Serpent's Pit with Serpent's Breakdown, Talking Shit with Bree, and Nessa, and Planet River podcast. And you want to join and get more information at Let's Chat Podcast and all the things. I'm at Let's Revel on Facebook, Twitter. I've rambled quite a lot, so I don't know. Why don't we let's get to it.
Why, hello there, podcast friend. I'm Ash Blodgett, co-host of the podcast Let's Rewatch. Together with my co-host and Red Opera D&D campaign writer Pat Edwards, we made a short film in quarantine called Joining Call. And it's finally coming out. The film is the story of a group of people trying to get together to play D&D via a video chat. But all the usual quarantine issues get in the way, such as kids.
Daddy, is this Game of Thrones?
Bobby, what are you doing?
Daddy,
no, come on, it's bedtime.
Poor internet connections.
Thou must cast ye techno devils from thine magic picture box.
Couples at each other's throats.
I want to blow some ogres up with a fireball.
Why is your first instinct to always kill things?
And more.
Zoe, stop drinking! Oh, that reminds me, I haven't had the boss yet!
The film basically takes a snapshot of what life is like right now through the lens of nerds. So join us on our quest November 20th over on my YouTube channel LaughstashTV for the film's premiere. You can get there by going to youtube.com/LaughstashTV. And that's stash as in S-T-A-S-H. Till then, I'll just be over here practicing my nat 20s. Ooh, critical hit.
One of the things I've learned in therapy is about not being so cheap about stuff like that, and be like, it's like sometimes you gotta think about buying stuff as like buying time. So I'll get super cheap about like editing, and I'm like, I don't know, just spend like the $30 or $50 and save myself like a couple of hours and go like do something nice with the family. So every so often I'm like, all right, I'm gonna treat myself this time, but not always. Sometimes I get super cheap. Oh my goodness, this is so fun. How are you both holding up?
Good. Well, Pat.
I am great. Yeah.
Are you feeling better?
I feel good. Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm good. I'm
hanging in there.
I'm feeling healthy and good.
You got the vids?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, might as well. We're alluding to it. I'm not weird about it. Yeah, listener, as of us recording this, I am just recovered from COVID. So, yay.
Oh, I'm glad you're healthy.
Yeah.
At least it didn't happen during your D&D Kickstarter madness. That would have been awful.
That would have been very bad.
Oh my god.
Still wasn't fun.
Yeah.
But I feel very fortunate that on the grand scale of things, I had what you would call a mild case. But yeah.
Knock on wood. But
Mm-hmm.
is this breaking news that it's not a hoax? This is how we all find out.
No.
Right?
I knew
Pat,
it.
I think you're faking. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just.
Oh no. No. But yeah, very happy to be feeling good and happy to be here talking with you, Chris. How's it going?
Yeah, so yeah, Pat, you were on a couple episodes. I don't know. What was that? A couple months ago? A month ago?
I think like
6 weeks ago.
quarantine time, right?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. And then it was so funny. I know Ash introduced us, and I look back today, Ash. That was 5 fucking years ago.
I know. I saw you posted it on your Facebook page, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it was so long ago. And you know what else I was thinking about in that interview? I like so insisted that I wasn't an actress, but here I am. Flash forward, and I feel like I'm doing so much more acting. It's so funny.
Oh, that's too funny. I looked at it, I was like, oh my god, I didn't quit. I just like, and because that was like a real big one for me too. Like I remember when we did our interview, like in 2015, you were one of the first people. Like I probably had been doing the show. Like I was probably just started to get out of that place where I worked through all of my friends and started like meeting people online. And I remember you were probably one of the first like super established people I met because you made like YouTube videos that looked really good. And I was like, oh my god, Ash wants to talk to me? This is insane. And then I would like flash forward on like, oh my god, we're all still there's like so many people from that era. Like a lot of people have stopped, understandably. It's kind of cool. Some of the people like just kind of kept plowing forward and what people have done with it. It's fucking, it's a great community.
It's amazing the people you've had on the show, like Streetlight Manifesto.
Oh, thank you.
And like the guy from iZombie. I was like, damn, Chris is really
thank you.
up
I love
there
Rahul.
now. Wow.
I feel that way too. I hate to say that, but sometimes I'm like, seriously, this is kind of nuts. Or Pat Edwards.
Cool.
I mean,
I know.
I hear that guy is a hack.
Way to I owe you for thank you so much for introducing me to the man crush of the year.
Oh, I know.
I got some feedback that I was a little gushing over Pat too much in our episode.
My favorite part is when you're like, you don't look like you're into D&D.
Oh my god.
I thought it was the perfect amount. I enjoyed it very much.
It was a great episode.
That's perfect. The fact that you know Streetlight actually just makes me so happy because ska always gets met with such negativity, and I'm such a fan of ska music.
Oh, yeah, it does. It had like its heyday back when I was in college, and then I don't know why it just dropped out of fashion so quick. I'm also a huge reggae fan, and like ska and reggae, you know, they're kind of like the same vibe. So
well, ska, oh yeah. Well, reggae comes from ska.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched Pick It Up.
Oh,
if anyone hasn't
seen
it,
check it out.
It's really good. And then I got to moderate a roundtable with the director, and you guys would love him. He's got Taylor Morden. His next movie is called The Last Blockbuster. It's like literally all the stuff that we love. I'll tell you, that's someone you should know. I feel like you guys would all get along really nice too. But I'm so excited for today that we're talking about joining the call, which sounds what I love about it, it's like you and Taylor Swift both made an art form that you had to be like, this was made at this time date, because you couldn't have made what you're making like 8 months ago.
Oh, totally.
So you and T Swift, she made Folklore,
which is so good. I'm not even like a Taylor Swift fan, and that album, I can't stop listening to it.
Yeah, actually, I really like it too. I do really like it too.
It's fantastic. That song with Bon Iver.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Exile. I can't. Yeah, don't listen to that if you're like drunk and emotional, because you'll just.
You'll like watch Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless
song?
Mind and then listen to that. Like,
Your ugly cry song.
Yeah.
Oh God, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That movie will really get you, man. It's so good though.
I had gotten dumped and then saw it, unknowing what it was, in theaters with like my friends and trying to keep it together, and did not go well.
Oh no! Can't
I just feel some things, people?
I watched The Breakup with a boyfriend while we were like, the relationship was definitely ending, and I was like, oh, this was brutal. This was like a mirror into our relationship, and we're over for sure. Yeah.
So how does joining the call come to be?
I think Pat texted me. You texted me an idea.
Yeah, so
right?
I remember you saying, making just kind of an offhand comment. Here's how my recollection is of, oh man, you had another project you were going to shoot, and then
yes.
the pandemic
Which
shelved
also
that.
has call in it. It's a short called May I Put You On... Oh, no, it doesn't have called. It was a short called May I Put You On Hold, and I was in early pre-production. We were going to shoot this year.
So I just will sometimes in my head, I'll like to have these like mental exercises or writing, and I'll think of these concepts of like, what's something that I could write that could be shot in our, and this is, for most people are still, quarantining pretty strictly and working completely from home and not going out unless they absolutely have to, and no group gatherings or anything. So I was like, okay, what's something that could be done and then shot completely quarantined, and maybe even shot through like a video call. Mm-hmm. So, and then I was just playing around with it, and I was like, oh, I play D&D. I play a lot of D&D over Zoom video calls or like tabletop gaming, and once in a while though is hard to get it going. It's like, now I'm lucky pretty much for the most part when I play. A lot of it is not just playing it, I'm doing like streams and things, so everyone involved is pretty like wanting to be pro about it, so we do start on time. But if you don't have some kind of like hard start time, like you have to, or some kind of commitment, it can get really easy to just take forever and just spend so much time staring at your screen waiting for this and that and this and that, and then just or whether it's like starting to start a podcast or something like that, just life kind of getting, even though we're all quote unquote at home with more time, it almost feels like we have less time just because there's just so much stress with everything. So it was just kind of took a couple passes of writing like this group of friends that are trying to just play a game together, but they each have their own little like hang-ups or something they're bringing to the table, or so this thing that whatever's stressing them out that keeps getting in the way.
To like all of our projects is, I feel like most of the time Pat texts me a joke, and then next thing you know, we're developing an entire like short or podcast or story around this joke. And I feel like that's where it started, was like a text, and then Pat really quickly like developed it into a script. I feel like your turnaround was pretty fast for the first draft, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it helped that you didn't force me the first draft around to format it in a script.
Yeah,
I just wrote it like
just normal.
I didn't have to think
that was
about
kind
that.
of the cool thing that you did, was Pat didn't assign gender, race, anything to the characters. He just gave them numbers when he first wrote it, which like it was so freeing, because then with casting it was like, well, this character could be a guy, could be a girl, could be a lesbian couple, could be a straight couple, could be whatever, like any ethnicity, gender, sexual preference. Like it left the door really open, which was awesome.
That is so cool. I could totally believe, from like knowing you both like from the podcast world of interviews and whatnot, like that, like the perfect match of people, like Pat having an idea and then texting Ash like, yep, because like I have a lot of ideas and a lot of friends, but Ash, you seem like the type who actually makes those things happen.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great quality to have with someone, which that's so amazing. And yeah, that sounds about right. I believe that fully. Now, is it you, Matt? How did you two actually meet? Because I know, Pat, you said you guested on Let's Rewatch, and then you kind of and then became a host.
We were like internet friends, just like supportive of each other's endeavors, and like would comment or like through Twitter and just interact. And then I think I actually was originally found Ash through Let's Drink.
My drinking show.
Which there's synergy there.
Yeah.
With with space tripping and that, and Let's Drink. So I think we were just internet friends, and then when the book was coming out, I was going out to Los Angeles, and I was like, hey, we should like do an episode of the show, and she's like, we're not doing that, but we have this other podcast, Let's Rewatch, let's have you come on that. And then we just really hit it off.
We did Alien, which was so great, and
That
that
was a
was
good
back
episode.
when we like recorded the podcast in the meat space with like we were all together,
Yeah.
which was really fun because we got to like hang out. And I remember, I think I still have them. You gave me like a space tripping like beer cozy.
Yeah, I still got some
Yeah.
around here. I got a couple of those. I know I need to get more printed up. But
then
yeah.
you just became like a fan of the show, and you just constantly were like interacting. And when Nick left the show, it was just like a natural fit. We were like, well, we should ask Pat, of course.
I think
It's a great addition.
yeah, because I think we did well just for fun. I didn't even have anything to promote at the time, but I came back on as a guest once, and then I came back on as again, I guess like 2 more times, like back to back.
Oh yeah.
Just so we're joking that I never left the couch. I was just crashing on the Let's Rewatch studio couch.
Yeah.
And refused to
But
leave.
he'd been there the whole time.
Yeah.
That's so fucking awesome. So many good stories happen that way. Like, that's like how I like my our team now, because the podcast has grown beyond just me. Like Bree and Ball, like that's actually the same thing. None of us, we've never met in real life, but same thing. Just like internet friends, and then eventually, things change on you, and for the better. I make so much. And I listened to the Aliens one. I really like that, and it was funny because I really like. I've known. God, Let's Rewatch has been around for a minute now.
Yeah.
I remember when you started the podcast. That's how like Weird Life goes. It's like, oh, I'm like, oh, that's so cool, and like
I want to say it's like it must be like around 5 years as well. I'm really bad and put in like the least amount of effort for the show nowadays, so I just show up at this point.
Oh, that's my dream. No, it's not. I have to compliment Let's Rewatch because it was your episode with Hector Navarro that actually like made me fall in love with a Goofy movie, because I saw it as a kid, didn't think twice about it for 20 years, and then that episode I was like, oh my god, and then like I watched it again, and then like flash flood of memories seeing it with like my mom and because it was one of those movies my mom probably liked more than me when I was a kid, because I think the music was really good. Powerline.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like-
it's so good. The music is just incredible. And
Isn't it Michael
Hector's-
Jackson?
I don't think it is Michael Jackson, but I
Or is that a
totally
rumor?
understand you thinking that, because it's that the singer has similar qualities to
Yeah.
their voice for sure.
I could be misremembering it, but I think it's like Michael Jackson uncredited.
Oh,
I'd have to look it up. It's some weird stuff, because I don't know if you ever heard that story where he there's like he guested on The Simpsons, an old episode of The Simpsons, and there's like a rumor like that he had his voice double do the voice on The Simpsons. So like within the Simpsons nerd community, which I'm obviously a part of, there's no one. It's like it's lore that he actually never sang on the Simpsons, and because it's Michael Jackson, he's like, or maybe it's Prince. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe I'm thinking
that
wrong. Maybe,
sounds more like a weird thing Prince would do for sure.
I think it might have been one of those like uncredited Prince tracks, but I don't recall. But anyway, I just like fucking fell in love with that. So that's what it was. That was one of my favorite podcast episodes. And then after we recorded Pat, it was just so fun. I don't know if any of you have this when you do a podcast with people. Most of the time, you like do the podcast and it's great, but you don't go on and listen to their stuff anymore because you've already done that for your lead up. Like after we recorded Pat, I like went on a deep binge on Let's Rewatch, because like I had listened for a long time and podcast like fell off here and there.
Yeah.
So like went back. I started with your Marvel episode because Pat was giving you some guff on our chat.
Oh yeah, well deserved.
Oh my god, it was so much fun. Can you explain that for people? Actually, we should maybe explain what Let's Rewatch is for anyone who's not familiar.
Let's Rewatch is our movie podcast where Pat and I are co-hosts. There's 4 of us that are main hosts, and then nowadays we pretty much always have a guest on. So we have fun guests who are like other filmmakers or people in the film industry, and or just like cool creators. And we watch movies that we loved in our youth, but we haven't seen in a while. So we watch them to see if they still hold up. And it's a lot of fun because there's all sorts of stuff that isn't okay anymore. In those
Biodome.
movies. Yeah.
Biodome. Oh man.
Oh gosh.
That was.
Biodome.
We have stumbled upon, in my shorter tenure as a co-host, we've stumbled upon an inadvertent tradition around St. Patrick's Day of a movie that some of us, we're just putting our foot in our mouths on every St. Patrick's Day, where we're 2 in a row now, and I'm guilty both times. Ash was not on the train the second time around in the first half being like, yeah, this movie, I love this movie, it's going to be so fun. And then we watch it. And then the second half, we're like, oh shit, that was really problematic and not at all. I don't remember how bad that was.
I can't believe this affected my life so much. I should not have liked this film. Yeah, that was at least, well, I don't know. Is Biodome more problematic than Boondock Saints? That's a tough, they're problematic for different reasons is the thing. And they're both bad.
The way I think of it, it's like the people who like Biodome, probably annoying, maybe a little problematic, but the people who like really like Boondock Saints are like,
yeah,
okay, maybe you should stay away from me.
You own a gun and I'm afraid of you.
Yeah. You want to tell me, Yeah, you want to scream that firefight scene a little bit, and I'm from the Northeast, so I know a lot of those people.
But
at least Biodome, I knew sucked. I saw that when I was 13, 14, I don't know how old I was, but I remember even seeing it at the time, being like, I think I'm too old for this.
Man, you were way more mature at 13 than me.
And I'm not. Listen, I love Adam Sandler and all that stuff, but I hated outside of Goofy Movie. I always hated Pauly Shore.
Yeah, Goofy Movie probably is his best movie, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's not even acting.
Yeah.
I mean...
But the Marvel episode was, I had stupidly not seen any of the Marvel... Well, I think... Is that true? Any of them? I don't think I'd seen
I thought
any
you'd
of them.
seen...
Maybe I'd seen one or two.
I'd
seen Ragnarok. Yeah. So I'd seen like a couple selectively because I had friends who were like, you have to watch this one. And I'd be like, okay. But I just like wasn't really into superhero movies. And I saw like the first Spider-Man, like not the new ones, but like, you know, the Tobey Maguire one. And I was like, I'm good. And I just sort of checked out after that. But I'd never seen them. And like everyone kept like telling me how much they loved them and how good they were. And so in quarantine, I was like, you know what? I've been judging these movies and thinking that I just sort of, you know, as a filmmaker, it just got a little frustrating that like everything became superhero movies and everything has kind of taken on that aesthetic and that look and everything has to kind of be superhero, you know, vibe nowadays. It seems like to be a big blockbuster film. But I was totally judging them on surface face value. So during quarantine, I decided I'm going to do this thing that I called Marvel Quest. And I basically live tweeted every time I would sit down and watch one of the Marvel films. And I started out really like, you know, still not sold. And I can't remember which one it was, but I feel like it was like 3 or 4 movies in. I was like, I am a fan of this now. I love this. Oh my God, this is so good. And I watched them in chronological order, so not release order, which I think made a big difference because another problem for me with trying to watch the Marvel films is it's like where do you start, you know, if you don't know, if you haven't been watching them. So I found it really helpful. I found a website that told me like what order to watch in chronological order. And that was great because then I was like, oh yeah, that just happened. Cool. I know what you're talking about.
Now Disney Plus, if anyone listening, now Disney Plus put them on there in chronological, which makes it so much easier than going out online. I could see that. I think Pat, we probably talked about this, but I remember saying like if I didn't see the Marvel movies, I would have just hated them.
Yes.
Like
that was
And
where I was at. Yeah.
Which, I would be like, yeah, Scorsese's right, but like
that's exactly what I said.
I mean,
don't even blame you.
It's really easy.
I don't even blame you a little bit.
It's really, I mean, it is really, if something if you're not into something and a ton of people are, it's really easy to, I don't know what it is about human nature. I don't, if something's super popular but it's not your thing, I think it's really easy to start resenting all the attention that thing is getting. I don't know why that's the way we are wired, but
well, it's like I don't want to. That's like the what's it called when things are like super popular and you're like, well, I don't want to go with the flow and be with the cool kids. You know, I don't know.
Conformist, mainstream.
But I mean, that wasn't even really my reasons. I just was judging them on surface level. Like I'm sure that there's multiple episodes of Let's Rewatch where we've talked about it before, but like to me the stakes get really boring after a while if it's like the world is going to be destroyed by this evil villain. It's like what I thought the Marvel films were, and I'm going to use an even nerdier reference, is I thought it was like Dragon Ball Z. Now, I loved Dragon Ball Z, don't get me wrong, but Dragon Ball Z gets to a point where you're like, all right, how many Super Saiyan levels are they gonna, like, each time there's a new bad guy, it's like, okay, there's a new Super Saiyan level, and now there's another bad guy, and another new Super Saiyan level. And so I just thought it was, like, repetitive, and I didn't realize that basically the Marvel movies are the world's most expensive TV show. And I didn't realize that. And that actually there's this crazy story arc that's going on over the arc of all of these movies. And my favorite thing is watching like Tony Stark's character development over all of these movies. Which, by the way, I was talking to a friend recently who was talking about like how shallow and surface level Tony Stark is, and I was like, what are you talking about? He has like the best character arc. And they were like, oh, I only ever saw Iron Man 1. And I was like, then you don't know what you're talking about. So I finally
he sacrifices himself for the universe.
Yeah.
He has a daughter.
Like, I've become Pat now, criticizing this person who has never seen the movies. But yes, I am a major fan, and we did this episode where we talked about my rewatch of, or not rewatch, but my watch of all of them with Hector Navarro, who is notoriously a huge Marvel and DC person. So it was
in
really
a nice
fun.
way for anyone who doesn't know who he is. Like, I don't know him personally, but I'm a huge fan of his. I listen to him podcast and all his Nerdist stuff. He does that in a way. What is it that quote? He like brings you into it, which a lot of sometimes there's definitely a negativity with nerd culture, Marvel, and with any sort of subculture. People like, and for like years, I didn't even like Star Wars because I hated the fans my whole life.
Oh my god, I love Star Wars, but the Star Wars fans can be the biggest dicks. I'm
just
sorry,
the
guys.
Worst.
Tone it down, man.
Chill out. But like Hector was one of the first, like I remember like early YouTube Nerdist era stuff, like finding his stuff, and I think I found him through LaughstashTV or through Let's Rewatch.
Yeah, we had him on a Let's Drink as well as a Let's Rewatch. We might have done them at the same day. I can't remember, but we did like a Thanksgiving one with him, and that episode is pretty hilarious because out of context, you have no idea that Brett and I recorded a previous Let's Drink episode right before Hector showed up. So Hector showed up and we were already smashed. We are so drunk, and Hector is just like, "What is going on, you guys?" He's like on a completely different level than we are. We're just toast. It was that was a fun one.
But I think Hector, and I think that's what both of you do very well too. Like even like I was telling Pat, like the D&D, I have been terrified of D&D because of its fan base for years. Of like not terrified, I just stayed away from it for whatever reason.
It's intimidating, yeah.
You bring people into it in such a nice way. I'm like, oh, it's like a warm blanket.
Yeah. Well,
but you need that sometimes.
Yeah, I think I feel incredibly privileged and lucky that my Twitter group of people that I sort of, associate with on the interwebs are all really cool. Like Pat, when I met Pat, it's like, cool, you're a cool person. And like nobody in my circle on Twitter is like hateful. They're all like pretty positive people and down to be inclusive. And so whenever people like attack the internet, I'm like, look, I know that there's, you know, horrible people on Twitter, but like you can also find cool people and not associate with the horrible people and make your own little bubble. So I feel incredibly like thankful that I have like this amazing community, I think, on Twitter that's always there. And honestly, like they have gotten me through quarantine, because like doing the Marvel Quest and like live tweeting and seeing, you know, of course I'm tweeting jokes, but like I'm also tweeting reactions to stuff that, like, you know, like when Tony Stark dies and I'm like tweeting that and people are like, dude, let me tell you what it was like. Oh shit, spoiler. Oh no. Spoiler. But people are like, let me tell you what it was like in the theaters, and I'm like, I can't believe I missed it. And so like that interaction with that community has just been so cool. I don't know why I went on this tangent, but I did.
I'm with you. Like I've noticed that the podcast, like this little niche community, like we've been part of and found each other, and it's been really nice. Like some people I've like closer. I feel like I'm like my producers I work with, like Bree and Chris Ball. Like I talk to them I talk to them more than I talk to my own family. And since quarantine, I don't really you can't see as many people as you used to. Like, yeah. I still go to work every day, so my life's a little different than people who work from home. But, like, it's like, well, I'm going to be on the internet all the time anyway. Might as well just talk to you for 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, like, Pat and I, we've only hung out in person once, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
In person.
But, like, we talk all the time.
Oh, I know. I would consider, like, you and Sam and Brett, like, some of my best friends now. Because,
Totally,
like, we talk just because from doing the show. And, It's been phenomenal, and it's been really fun. It's great what we've done with it too, and we're part of a network now, and that's a great community. And Ashley, you're so right as far as it's like, yeah, there are corners of the internet that are cesspools, but that's on you. You control who you interact. I mean, to some degree, people can seek you out like shitheads if they're looking for you or looking to cause trouble, but there are amazing, awesome people out there, and there are just really great communities. And just if you haven't found one yet, keep looking, because they're out there, and there's good, inclusive, you know, kind people. Or come join
ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, just stay away from like news.
Yeah, I try. You know, it's extra tricky this year because I do think it is important to have a stance on things for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But for the most part, I try not to post anything that's like alienating or attacking another group of people.
Yeah. My personal feeling for that is like I want people to know where I stand. Well, I notice for myself if I'm not doing very well, and Twitter has this sense like when you get angry, you want to tweet a lot.
Yeah.
And that's when I stop myself. And I was like, all right, I had to do this a few years, and it was actually in 2016. I was like, all right, I'm not going to get news. I'll reduce as much from the internet. I'll try to like go through news sources. And when I get really fucking angry at stuff, I use Make 5 calls or ResistBot, and I just write to my representatives. I'm like, all right, out of my hands, and it's actually my wife's
good.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
It helps the rage, because instead of screaming into a void and arguing with a bot, I'm like, I've just told my congressperson to fucking do something, and like, you know, it's not perfect, but it made my interneting a lot better.
A much better use of that time and energy.
Yeah, you got to put things to action.
Totally.
And I'm just also not the most knowledgeable. Like I just don't like talking about that stuff very much, because I'm just not the most knowledgeable of it. Like I like talking about The Simpsons because I know a lot about The Simpsons, but I don't know a lot about like policy and stuff like that.
Did you know I also haven't? I hadn't seen The Simpsons till quarantine, Chris.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Did I ask you if it's because you're a Christian?
I know, no. Pat. I'm so sorry.
Ash
I was
has such a
brought
90s
up Catholic.
Brain. Yeah.
Irish Catholic. No. My mom, like, I remember we rented, what was it called? Austin Powers. And I don't know why my mom thought this was a film that she would enjoy. And we got about 5 minutes into it, and she was like, oh, no, and turned it off. And I never saw Austin Powers until, like, maybe 5 or so years ago. Like, there's, I would watch it anyway because at this point I was a rebellious teenager and I didn't care. But like she would be upset about me watching Friends because they talked about sex. And so, yeah. But the funny part is my dad was the complete opposite. My dad was like, hey, you ever seen Clockwork Orange? Like, what? He would let me watch, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show, Clockwork Orange, all of the Bond movies. Like, he was just like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
What about your parents? Were they like that, Pat?
I was also raised in a Catholic household, but no, I got a little bit more of a mainstream pop culture diet as far as shows and things growing up. They weren't quite. They started out really strict, and then they kind of laxed as the years went on. Through, like,
Are we the same age?
I am 35, almost 36.
I'm 36. Because that was also the era of the censorship with like Tipper Gore and like.
Oh yeah.
Like so, my parents, my mom's like they're liberal people, but they got very caught up in that as well. So there was that age of like, rap music is gonna destroy kids' minds, and like NWA. I remember like I remember Dee Snider went to like Congress and stuff like that. Yeah, so I have a lot of those gaps too. But all my friends who were like grew up like in religious households of certain type of religion, like for some reason The Simpsons was like the thing they were never allowed to see, and then they never liked it because of it.
So I was allowed to, but I do remember it being like a thing. I do remember that being a thing that parents were like, a lot of parents were anti-Simpsons, and then I watch it and I'm like, it's not. There's nothing, because Bart says, "What the hell, man?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they were mean to George W. Bush. Like they got in a tiff with the president at the time, and that was like I think that was the whole where that came from. Oh god, people.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, watching it now, and I do love it now. I
so
absolutely love it. I watch, yeah, it's like ridiculously tame now, but I can see like how back in the day, you know, like it would have been outrageous. Like I can't remember, there was an episode that we watched last night and Bart said something that I was like, wow, that was actually pretty racy for the time period, I think. That's amazing.
Oh, plus it's it's a cartoon where animation was still only believed to be for children, which
and it was on late, wasn't it? Like late
8 o'clock on Fox. Yeah, it's been the same time slot. Even to this day, I still know people my age and even a little younger who'll be like, "Oh, cartoons are for kids." I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
Like, have you seen anything ever?" Like, I don't understand. Like, have you watched Archer?
Have you seen a Pixar movie?
Yeah.
At
oh
least.
my god.
Or they're just straight up R, like those MTV. What was that slate of animated shows on MTV? Oh my god, is the Max and Aeon Flux? They were like weird.
I didn't see them.
Was it MTV? I want to say from the 90s.
Cartoon Network?
No, no.
It was Toonami. But
someone's gonna tweet at me. Oh, what's it called? Nah, it's Tsunami. But it was called something. It was this whole. There was like I can visualize them all, and they were all based on like graphic novels and comic books.
Oh, okay.
And it was Aeon Flux was one. The Max. There was one called The Head, and they were like more adult. They were very adult.
Now, man, Ash, your filmmaking has got it was always good, but holy shit, from like when we first met till now. I think I remember like right at the quarantine started, I'm gonna contradict myself. I was really pissed off because I was watching like the Tonight Show or one of those, like I was watching all these no, it was Comic-Con at home, and I was so excited for the Bob's Burgers panel, and it was literally just a shitty Zoom call with everyone on bad internet, and it was like, what the fuck? These companies, they have so much money. Like, people like LaughstashTV have been making higher quality stuff on YouTube 10 years prior for, like, no money. And, like, fucking 20th Century Fox and Disney couldn't give, like, $50 for a ring light and a good mic for John Benjamin.
Yeah, and you could just,
really makes me mad.
Send it to him. You know, it's not... That's literally what we did for our film was, you know, we had meetings with everybody. Once we cast, we had individual one-on-one meetings with everybody, and we said, okay, let's look at your space. let's figure out where the best lighting is, where the best background is. Let's talk about how you can direct, because all of the actors, there's like 8 or so that are on screen, and they all had to light themselves. They had to do their production design, their costuming, their wardrobe, their props. They had to record their audio and their video all themselves. And so we had to walk them through that process. Some of them, you know, all of them were experienced with audio. That was like the number one, like, you must know how to record your own audio to be in this film. That was like the casting requirement. But some of them had never really shot video before. And so we had to walk them through that process. Some of them shot on iPhones, some of them shot on DSLRs and had never shot video on like a DSLR before, or that specific DSLR. But yeah, like Matt Young, who's in the film, super familiar with recording his audio, obviously, because he's on Hello from the Magic Tavern and the podcast. If you're not familiar with it, you should definitely watch it or listen to it, because it's amazing and hilarious.
It's so good.
It's so great.
Writing that down.
Oh yeah, so it's like basically the idea is this guy falls through a magical portal. Gosh, I'm ruining it. into the magical land of Foon. And he's like documenting what he's seeing there, and it's basically an improv show where they're like making fun of all of the like fantasy stereotypes. So Matt plays this character that is basically making fun of Gandalf, and he plays Usador the Blue.
And he's in your movie?
And he's in the film. And so he was super familiar with recording audio and had a great mic, but Matt had never shot video before. So we had to walk him through that, and we sent him a light, a Lume Cube light that like just clipped onto his laptop. And then he shot with his iPhone, and I think he already had a rig for it, or we sent him a rig. We definitely sent some people rigs so that they could have their camera or phone right above their computer, so that it looks like they're looking at you when they're looking in the camera. Yeah. So
did you change a lot of like your script from your first draft? Not for creative reasons, but just for filming, because like I can't imagine, Pat, like I don't know, you probably have to write it because you need a good story, but also be like, well, how's Ash gonna make this?
I mean, Ash is. We could talk for a couple hours here on how amazing Ash was.
Oh, don't worry. Before we get off this, we're gonna talk about how we both want you to make a Marvel movie, and we're gonna pitch them tonight.
I wrote it, and then Ash was also was a phenomenal partner as far as like feedback and critique before we got to that point, and would come back and be like, this can be stronger, this I don't I like this, let's expound on that, this isn't working for me, and just I think like the first pass through was like fine, but I think we really, when after Ash came back with some thoughts and ideas, and I took like a second sort of more extended pass, we both really were like, oh, okay, we got to do this. But I don't think we had to, as far as from a technical standpoint to shooting, because I was always just very conscious of what this is going to be people on a screen talking to each other like we're talking, on a video call. So everything, I already knew that was going to be the whole thing, right? So everything was written from that perspective of this has to be doable from that perspective.
What I think maybe did almost changed, but then we did make it work, was the kid, because we didn't know if we were going to have a kid. So in the script, one of the characters, Hugh, is a dad, and he's dealing with a problem a lot of dads and moms are dealing with now, is that he also has to be taking care of his kids, and so his kids are constantly interrupting the call. And so we cast my friend and wonderful actor Timmy Morgan, who I've worked with before. He was in Infectious. He's the dad in Infectious, my short. But we were like, Timmy has kids, this will be great. And initially he was like, I don't think I can get my kids in it. I don't know that this is gonna work. And we're like, okay. And so Pat was like writing like creative solutions where like maybe Timmy can wear like a little kid's hoodie and we can pretend he's a kid, and like just like ridiculous ideas of like, okay, maybe we hear the kid off camera. And so we had like a take where the kid's supposed to throw a ball at him, so we had a take where Timmy throws the ball at himself and he just kind of like holds his hand out of frame, and it totally worked. But then Timmy's like, okay, I talked to my son and he's really excited and he's down to do it. And we're like, okay, but we decided that we were going to shoot that part on a separate day because we shot the whole thing on one day, and despite how it looks, we didn't shoot it all in one take, even though originally I wanted to do that. But there's some characters have so many props and there's so much going on that we decided that it just was too difficult. So we broke it down into smaller chunks. So we shot the scene with the kid on a separate day where it was just me, just Timmy. So that way the kid wasn't like, I keep saying the kid, his name's Ben. That way Ben wasn't, I just watched The Babadook too, and she's like, stop calling him the boy. I'm doing the same thing.
Oh, I just snorted. That's embarrassing.
Anyway, we shot it on a separate day with Ben so that he wouldn't be intimidated, because like this call, we had 8 actors, and then Rose was on, our producer, Rose Mesa, and Pat was on, and I was on. So like this was like a huge video call that we were like, that's probably going to be really intimidating for him. So we shot it on a separate day, just me and him. But that was, I think, the one thing that was like, it kept changing. And I think there were a couple other lines that like changed as we did. We did like 3 table reads.
Yeah, we tweak lines here or
beforehand.
there. If people stumbled over a line, or if they had a suggestion, or they felt that something was more natural flow or something, it was pretty easy going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know that old saying that necessity is the mother of all invention. So that's right. So for like making this film, where you're like, I'm sure you all had some experience doing filmmaking like in this capacity, but I'm sure you're never like, let's make an all there's just really all like this.
No,
so what
this
was that like for you? Like
whole new.
From a writing standpoint, I love challenges, or I love like parameters that I have to work around. I think that's some where I'm at my best, honestly. I would actually almost rather you give me, I don't know, I really thrive when I'm given like, okay, I need this and it's got to do this and this, but it can't do this. And then, all right, dang it, I've got these rules I have to adhere to, and then I feel like I am at my best. And there are some people that always want a blank page, to do whatever they want all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but I really, really, really enjoy the challenge of like having some kind of limitations you have to work around, because I think that's how you push yourself. And then Ash, I don't know how much you enjoyed the challenge, but I was blown away because Chris, I can't sing her praises enough for how amazing she was through the shoot, planning everything, doing it, and just knocking it out of the park. And whenever there'd be a little hiccup there, like not panicking, just pivoting, fixing it slightly, pivot, move on, come back, fix that. It's so amazing what I hope Ash, you are going to do that behind the scenes. Did you cut one together? Anything? Were you good?
I did on my Film It Yourself channel, which is my filmmaking YouTube channel. I did like a 3-part series, like talking about how we broke down everything from pre-production to production to post, because everything was slightly different. It was crazy. And like the script is like 16 pages long, I think, which was part of the reason why we also didn't do it all in one take, because that's just like a lot for everyone to do in one take. So what I did was I went through, and it was challenging because I had to figure out like how to. I knew that I was very inspired by I'm gonna call it Raven's Banquet. I was gonna call it Epic Quest, but that's not
Mythic Quest.
Mythic Quest.
Mythic Quest. Thank you. I'm very inspired by this thing I can't remember the name of.
I can't speak. I was like, what's that? That phrase with the words with the moms.
I was very inspired by the Mythic Quest quarantine episode. I thought what they did was like just absolutely brilliant. And then also the Parks and Rec quarantine episode. And if
That was very good.
yeah, if you watch those, they cut to full screens of people. It's not really like a real video call where you just see everyone in one frame. They cut to close-ups, they cut to shots where there's 2 characters on screen or 3, and then they'll cut to all. So I had to take the script and think about it like that, where I was like, okay, I have to get my head around, when do we need to see all of the characters? When can we cut to a close-up? When should we have just 3 characters on screen? When should we have 4 characters on screen? And so on. And so I went through the script and I divided it up into different scenes. I called them scenes, even though it's technically all one scene, where it was like, okay, for this section, there's really only 3 characters talking for this page, so let's just have those. And then, you know, for this section, everyone needs to be on. Oh. And then, bless you. And then for this section, everyone needs to be on, you know, all on the screen. All, you know, we need to see everybody interacting with each other. And it's like the whole thing is building up to this one chaotic moment where the DM is trying to start the game, but all of these things are getting in the way. Couples are arguing, there's technical difficulties, there's kids, there's all sorts of stuff. There's one character that just keeps drinking and gets progressively drunker. And so like at one point it gets to this head of just like chaos. And so it was a matter of figuring out, you know, like when do we need to see all of the chaos and when do we need to see just a couple characters. So I divided it up, divided it into scenes, and then scheduled that because on top of that, we were shooting it all in one day for the most part. And some people were using natural light. And so it's like, on top of that, I had to schedule around like, some people are using natural light, and we had people in like 4 different states. I think we had Utah, we had Chicago, where else were people? I'm forgetting now.
Pennsylvania.
Well, you in Cincinnati, Pennsylvania, yeah, California. So people were all over. So the day already was like 3 hours shorter because of East Coast time versus West Coast time. And then on top of that, it was like, okay, well, I want to shoot all of Matt Young's stuff out first because he has natural light. And, you know, we're depending on that natural light to light him mostly. And so, you know, it was quite a weird way of trying to organize stuff. And I think at one point I had already like organized everything, and Pat was like, okay, but what if this one character has a line here? And I was like, Pat, I already like figured this puzzle out. Like, we can't add that line here. Just trust me. And you're like, okay.
Do you think your experience as like a DIY filmmaker, like doing YouTube all these years, really kind of unintentionally, for better or worse, the pandemic gave us kind of a leg up in a way for a lot of years too? Like podcasters and YouTubers were kind of poo-pooed upon throughout the industry, and now it's like, come to me, motherfuckers.
Yeah, right. Surprise, bitches. We were here all
Guess what, Ira Glass? We're both recording in a closet, so what now?
Yeah, totally. I think so. I mean, because of being a DIY filmmaker, you know, even though I usually directing is my passion, you know, I end up doing everything. So I've had to teach myself how to shoot my own video because I needed to learn. I actually didn't learn that in film school because I was like, I don't want to be a cinematographer. I want to be a director, and I'm going to be an editor to make money until I can be a big time director. And so those were the areas that I focused on, and writing. But like, you know, after film school, I was like, well, if I want to make a film, now I got to find someone to shoot it. And so I just taught myself and started doing it myself, and started learning lighting and cinematography, and you know, when you have to do costumes yourself and set design yourself, like, and it's a lot. It gets overwhelming. So I'm lucky that I'm starting to get to the point where I can usually hire or ask talented friends to step in and fill in a lot of those things. But I still, you know, end up doing a lot of things that, you know, a normal just being a director would. It's beyond just being a director for sure.
Well, I mean, I guess I almost like I imagine like an established, more traditional filmmaker right now would be like, I'm out of work, I don't know what to do, and then you're like, oh, I can adapt. Well,
Yeah.
like I was watching your short Zombie Det and your Film It Yourself YouTube video on my very big smart TV, like the 4K,
Ooh,
whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my god, your videos look incredible.
Oh,
like,
thank you.
I remember Pat saying that like he was like, you should be a Marvel director, which I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then like watching those, like, yep, I see what Pat means, because I was like, I know Ash, and she did this by herself, and this just, it looks like visually, and Zombie Det was amazing, but it was just like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Zombie Det, I was lucky enough to have an amazing cinematographer, Josh Fagatner. He actually shot Zombie Det. I do shoot all of my own. I do everything on the Film It Yourself channel. Like I shoot, I edit, I do the costumes, I do the writing, I produce it, everything. But Zombie Det, I'm so glad that we had Josh Fagatner because he was familiar with, I think we used the Sony A7S because it was good in low light. And so I'm so glad I had him. He was able to like light the scene and make it feel low light and still look amazing, which was so cool.
Because I just watched Knives Out.
Oh,
I don't know if
yeah.
you see that. It's really good.
Yeah.
And like your cameras and the Film It Yourself, I was like, hey, it kind of looks like that. The scenes when they leave it, like when they would leave the part of the house, I was like, hey, that's my knowledge of cameras. I'm like, that camera moves good.
Yeah, that Sony camera is very nice for sure. Definitely.
Pat, so question for you, Pat. And last time we almost completely forgot to promote the stuff we're there for to talk about stuff that has nothing to do with anything. So what tangent could we bring today? Because we'll skip the '90s Bulls. Because
I mean, we could talk about. I do have we all watched The Mandalorian.
I haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
I took off today from work to watch it.
No spoilers. I really want to. I will say, you know, if we're pitching me to be a Marvel director, actually, John, I'd really like to do a Mandalorian episode. Just putting my name out there.
Yes.
No joke. Did you watch the Galleria? Like how they filmed it?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole time that you were talking about the way how you all just made
joining call.
Joining call. You see, I was looking for my note because I didn't want I was thinking about the volume. I was like, oh my god, So, John, we're actually not kidding. I think this can happen.
That'd be amazing.
Ash, I want Ash to make a Star Wars. I mean, obviously I want to write one.
A Star Wars.
Yeah.
Go see a Star Wars.
Just one, not multiple.
No, but see, the thing too is, and I think we talked, Chris, I don't remember if we talked about this or not. We might have. I know Ash and I have talked about this, how much I love I like the big stuff too, the big save the world, but I also like smaller stories in genre films.
Same.
So I love the idea of like the Marvel universe or the Star Wars universe, but then doing other types of stories that are just set in those universes. Like give me everything. Give me a rom-com in Star Wars universe.
I know, that'd be so great.
Get, a horror thriller, a spy thriller, like everything, a straight up comedy. Give me all the genres, but set in Star Wars universe. It's literally a whole fucking universe. There's enough room.
Yeah. I would love to see you two get I mean, obviously, like, I want you both to get your Marvel movie, but, like, in my personal view, because I love both of your works so much, Disney Plus Marvel show, because then I would get multiple episodes. It'd still be MCU canon. You two would be, that would be, like, a dream come true. I'll call John. Who do we know at Marvel? Actually, you guys probably know someone. I don't. Well, maybe I do. I don't know.
I don't know if I do. Personally,
I'm sure if we try hard enough.
Yeah. I know people at DC, though, actually.
Yeah. I was like, I know.
And Legendary. But that's about it.
But we won't spoil it, but what did you think about the Mando Season 2, Pat? Did you watch it yet?
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed it.
Net positive.
My wife's actually the Star Wars nerd of the family. I didn't get into Star Wars until Force Awakens. So much so, like in the Rise of Skywalker, or the third one of the movies, the new ones. What was it?
Right.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know who Palpatine was.
Oh right.
Oh, Jesus.
So it worked for me. I was like,
Chris.
oh, that's cool.
That's
And then I just like look over and try to see.
I
didn't
did
know
the
who that
same
was.
thing with
Oh
the
my
Harry
God,
Potter
Chris.
books. I read the 4th Harry Potter book first, so I had no idea like what Hagrid looked like. And then I went back and read the first, and I was like, he's huge? What?
I did that. Today was pretty great. Like the last few days of my personal life have been just shit. So I decided to take my own advice that I give everyone else. I was like, I'm going to take today off from work and take a mental health day.
Nice.
And I watched The Mandalorian, and then I watched the Darkwing Duck episode of DuckTales that they just did. It was my 2 favorite hours of television of the year.
Wait, there's like a new Darkwing Duck?
Do you watch the DuckTales reboot by chance?
There's a new
No.
DuckTales. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to check that out. Because Darkwing Duck, I loved Darkwing Duck.
Yeah. So, Pat, do you watch DuckTales? Because we can just spend another hour talking about that.
Not this current new one, no. But I used.
dude.
I know. Oh, I will.
It's so good. So I'll give a quick pitch to it. So the new one is really interesting, where it's like a different universe. So it's all canon of the comic books, the DuckTales cartoons, and all of the Disney Afternoon. So like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers pop up in it, like all this different stuff. And then in the show, in this series, Darkwing Duck existed as a separate TV show, and there's a character named Jim Cummings who was the actor Darkwing Duck, and they do a Dark Knight spin-off, like parody episode, and then this season they just did an hour-long where they, I don't even.
Wow.
It's like it's my 3 favorite shows on TV are Better Call Saul, The Mandalorian, and DuckTales, and I feel like DuckTales, as my wife put it, she's like, it's got the Star Wars Rebels problem because it's Disney XD. People don't take it seriously, but if you hear the voice cast, it's like Danny Pudi, David Tennant,
Isn't it
Allison,
Ben
Lin-Manuel
Schwartz?
Miranda is Gizmo Duck. Oh, Ben Schwartz, that's right.
Lin-Manuel Miranda's in it? Oh,
He's
wow.
Gizmo Duck.
That's amazing. Oh,
It's
that's pretty good. Gizmo.
Allison Janney. There's a Doctor Who reunion with David Tennant and Catherine Tate. Don Cheadle does Donald, and it's insane. Because I interviewed the creator of Darkwing Duck about a year ago, Tad Stones. It's just like pretty for like an animation nerd. I was like, Dad, it was awesome. Such a nice guy. So it's so nice to see his work finally getting recognized. It's been a joke with my team because I find a way to talk about the show that have zero involvement or financial competency. I just absolutely obsessively love it. Kate Micucci is Webby. That is my last pitch.
Oh, wow.
That's good. I just love, though, because honestly, as far you can underlying concepts, you can say that sounds good or that sounds bad, but really, I definitely subscribe to like literally any concept can be terrible or awesome. It's all execution.
Yes.
It's all. It's like DuckTales is like a weird show. It's great, and then we're talking about like comic book stuff or like good shows. Two of my personal favorite shows are they've got a lot of attention recently, but they're from obscure comics. It's Umbrella Academy and even more obscure Doom Patrol. I adore
Doom Patrol yet.
Doom Patrol is my personal one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh, wow.
My favorite comic book show. Yeah, I think it's so great, and that is pretty obscure in the comic book, world. There are people who obviously know of it, but I feel like there are a lot of people who consider themselves fans of comic book stuff that have never heard of Doom Patrol. That's definitely
was a DC
deeper.
Universe,
yeah,
right?
that's DC.
Original?
It's on. It's on HBO Max, both seasons, and I adore it. So, I mean, yeah, DC folks, Legendary folks, if you got some bottom of the barrel obscure property, give it to Ash and me. We'll make it fucking dope.
Yeah.
I mean, look what you do with Guardians, Marvel.
Yeah, Guardians.
And actually, look what they did with Mandalorian. Like, they said that in the Galleria. It's like your big brother came in, took all your cool toys, and you're just left with all the little stuff. And look what they did with Mandalorian. It's just, it's incredible.
Well, even the MCU was the B Squad, because Marvel had sold off their most, because like the Avengers were not nowadays the Avengers. We talked about it in our Marvel episode. Now the Avengers are the A-list, but they weren't at the time. That was the X-Men and Spider-Man, but Marvel sold those movie rights off. So all they had, that's what they just had. That's all they had left.
Yeah,
And
you're totally
what
right.
would you want to make if you just for funsies? If it was like just for like, what would you like your dream like Marvel character be to use?
Ooh.
I want to see rom-com though now.
I know, the rom-com or like a horror movie. I'm so in the horror world. This is my favorite holiday, Halloween time. So I'm like,
I know what I want you two to make.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I really want you to make. There's a scene in Spider-Man: Homecoming where he's about to go tell MJ that he's Spider-Man, and it's maybe like 40 seconds where they just walk and they walk on the bridge.
oh yeah,
and it really
in
reminds.
Prague.
Yes, it reminds. Have you ever seen? Was it Before Sunset with Ethan Hawke?
No.
Or Before Sunrise or After Sunrise? It's a beautiful rom-com. It's like I just want you to take that one scene and extend it. No powers and anything. I just want Spider-Man and MJ to have like walk through Prague and just fall in love overnight. Like
that would be fun.
I want Pat to write it and I want you to direct it. It would be my dream.
This isn't Marvel, but I was joking with my boyfriend recently, and we were joking about how like a short, like, I don't know if you can get a whole movie out of it, but a short about like Bruce Wayne's butler's day off. Like he gets a day off and it's like him going around town drinking tea in the park, but in the background you see like Batman like saving like him from everything and like saving the town, but he's like clueless, you know. That's what I want to make.
Alfred's Day Off.
Yeah, Alfred's Day Off. That's what we called it. Yeah.
Is this a comedy? Because I just want like
course.
A straight like Ferris Bueller like John Hughes style remake.
Yes, it'd be so
Alfred
good.
stripping tea in Paris, but you see Christian Bale in the background not looking at him.
Yeah, totally. It'd be so fun.
That would be so. See, it's funny because my idea is like, oh, that's cool, but when you guys are talking about, there's like you two talk about like, there's a little bit more chance that can actually happen. You have the skill set to actually do that. What about you, Pat? I'm so curious.
I mean, actually, so there was a comic book series I really loved when I was younger, and it's, I'm sure, it's just parallel thought, but it was called Adventures of Barry Ween, Boy Genius. Now, they kind of already did it. They kind of already did it because it's very Rick and Morty-esque, but basically it's about like a 10-year-old kid.
Whatever, Rick and Morty stole their concept.
Yeah, I know. Because this is, as I'm saying, this comic book long predates Rick and Morty. But it's about like this kid who's like 10, but he's the smartest person on the planet, and just adventures he gets into. But and the whole shtick is he's also swears like a sailor, and is just.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like number 5 in Umbrella Academy. God, I love him so much.
Yeah, literally just raunchy, just swears nonstop, and is just fuck this, fuck that, and he's always busting out crazy inventions, and he is like his best friend is like the only other person who knows he's that smart, and and who's just kind of a normal kid.
Does he pretend to not be smart in school?
Yeah, he just pretends to be. He tries to just be a normal kid because he's like, if they find out, they'll like dissect my brain and stuff, so I can never find out. And also, I just think it's really well written. It's written. It was created by a guy, Judd Winnick, who's a cartoonist and a comic book writer. He's written for DC. He did Green Lantern for a long time. He wrote a newspaper comic book strip for a while called Frumpy the Clown. I think he was on like the first or second season of Real World actually too.
What? That's
Look up,
so
Judd
random.
Winnick. Yeah.
What?
So
oh my god! Yeah, not Boston. What Real World? Seattle. I remember.
Judd
I watched
Winnick
a lot of Real
is the
World.
guy's name. Yeah, I really liked that. And then another one I really loved is this is more recent and is not necessarily as mainstream. Was a series called Chew that I think I would love to adapt and is so good. And that's about like. It's about this weird alternate universe or alternate reality of our world where there's two conceits. One is poultry is illegal, and it's all basically that
like to
there are
eat or to own?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
And the conceit
So it's
is
like
that
the old weed laws.
there are food powers. Yeah. The conceit is that there are food powers. People who have different it's all food-based powers. And so like the main guy is
oh my god, I love that.
He's an FDA agent, and the FDA is like the FBI, but like food crimes are like the most heinous crimes, so like they're the most powerful agency. But he has a thing where if he eats, anything he eats, he experiences like what it experienced when it was alive or something.
Whoa.
So like he
That's
might nibble on like a corpse of a
traumatizing.
dead body or something like that. But then there's like tons of
Oh, one of the other thing I just remember too, remember listening to I love the podcast Nerdificent, and I remember one time I was listening to it, and Iffy Nottaway all of a sudden was like, and I bumped into my friends Ash Blodgett and Brett Eagleston, and I was like, what the fuck?
That was super fun, that Comic-Con. We bumped into Iffy, and then Iffy took us to like this like VIP party thing, and then there I bumped into more people I knew, like Brian Forrest. I don't know if you know Brian Forrest. He's like the Ashley Storm, I forget he's the bad guy in Video Game High School, but Brian Forrest is great too. And it was just like, oh hey, I just kept bumping into all these people I know from the nerd scene in LA. It was super fun.
That's what, nerd scene. I never heard of that word, nerd scene, because I feel like I listened to so many podcasts of some of those people. I'm like, that's exactly kind of where you fit in.
And Iffy's, and funny enough, Iffy's in the film too.
Yes,
in Joining
he is in the
Cult.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, we should have said that. Iffy is in the film.
Who else is in your movie?
Of course you haven't
God.
seen it. That's right. It hasn't come out yet.
It's not.
No
way.
Iffy plays a character whose his gag is that he can't find his D20, and he spends the entire time looking for it. Which was
so funny.
Also really funny because Iffy has this adorable daughter, and his daughter kept coming in and needing things, and we were like, oh, we should have cast you as Hugh. Like you had this too. It was really cute. But yeah, Iffy is great. He's fantastic. He was so funny in the film. He's such a good guy. It's crazy what he does. He has so many things going. I feel like every time I'm like, you're doing what now? Again, you have like 5 podcasts, or I don't even know how many he has at this point.
It's a lot of that circle. I guess a lot of it's for me. It's like I found him through like the Nerdist, or like more recently like the Daily Zeitgeist. Shout out Pat rocking their shirt. Like a lot of those guests kind of in that same circle. Of people.
I was just talking to a friend recently who she used to work at Geek and Sundry. She actually connected me with Iffy. So shout out to Jackie Cole, my friend Jackie Cole. She worked at Geek and Sundry, and we were talking about how like there used to be this there was like a heyday for nerds on the internet in LA. And it was like 5 years ago when Geek and Sundry was still a thing, and Nerdist was like, still a thing. I mean, they're both still things, but they're like nothing like what they used to be. And they shared a building with Amy Poehler Smart Girls, and then Rocket Jump was like a couple blocks away, and it was just like this heyday where like all the nerdy people on the internet would like get together, and Geek and Sundry would throw these like tabletop day parties where we would all like hang out, and then we'd all hang out like at Comic-Con, like everybody would go down to Comic-Con, and it was just like this wonderful time. And then it kind of ended, like Felicia
like everything
sold Geek and Sundry, Nerdist changed too, and I mean Rocket Jump isn't even, I mean, I know the channel's still there, but like Freddie, they sold everything. They had like a garage sale where they were like selling all of their props. And I went and I bought like all of their SWAT props, and I own like I have the wedding dress from the Skyrim gag short, or what's the word? Sketch. Skyrim sketch. And so yeah, it's kind of sad. Like there was like this really fun bubble where it was big, and everybody would hang out at Idle Hour was like the hangout spot in LA, the bar Idle Hour. But yeah, it's anytime I connect with people who are other nerd people that live in LA, it's like, oh yeah, do you know Omar? Oh yeah, do you know Tara? Do you know we all know each other.
I get so I feel like I listen to so many of those podcasts. I'm like, oh my god! Like, well, at least where I grew up, like I felt like it's. I guess in podcasting too, it's like when I grew up in like the punk scene in Connecticut, or which is not, and it's like kind of that feeling too. I think I've always been looking for that feeling again, like that. I guess we would call it like the scene, but like, and I think podcasting has definitely replaced that. And it sucked because it was right before COVID. Like, it started to turn, like, for me, it started to change from the internet to real life. Where I live, like, there's an actual podcast scene and, like, meetups. We had a studio and all that stuff. And then, COVID.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of worse stuff happened because of COVID, but that weekend.
Really? I hadn't heard of any of it.
Yeah.
Could you tell me right now? Do we have time? I have been on a yoga retreat for 2 months. No, just kidding.
Oh, wasn't that Jared Leto?
Yes.
Yeah.
What a crazy thing that must have been.
After weeks of health screenings and quarantining, Ash has surprised her closest friends with...
Oh.
With
my favorite one of those.
What did he do? I don't know.
Oh, you didn't know
you didn't see that online?
The Kim Kardashian thing?
Oh, no, I don't. I tried not to have any knowledge in my brain about that person.
That's fair.
Yeah, it was just a very tone deaf thing. She basically had a giant private island party for a bunch of people, and everyone's just like, cool, awesome, like, read the room.
Cool garbage human being.
It didn't bother me too much. I was like, you're safe. I don't care. Leave me alone. Like, yeah. I get mixed feelings on the hologram of her dead dad.
Oh.
Did you see that?
Yeah, no. Kanye had like a hologram of her dad programmed.
I just wish he got OJ era. OJ era Robert Kardashian, not when he was like super young. Like, part of me thinks it's super weird, but also like there's a part of me it's like, yeah, I kind of would like that for certain people I don't have in my life anymore. I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd rather make fun of him for being for covering up a murder. So fuck you, Robert Kardashian. Yeah. Not only did he cover it up, it was his friend that was murdered, and then basically admitted that he did it afterwards.
Oh my god! Wow.
If anyone didn't watch I forgot what. Yeah, when I was on paternity leave, I watched the People vs. O.J. Simpson, which was incredible, and then I had to watch it's really good. Hey, you got in quarantine, and then I watched Made in America. It's like an 8-hour documentary about O.J. Simpson.
Oh wow!
And it's his entire life, like from like birth to post murder trial, and it's definitely one of the best docs I've ever seen in my entire life. It's absolutely. There's that one part. It takes like an hour and a half turn to explain the complexities of the L.A. riots and about how that like affected the jury, but it was just, I don't know. And you're actually in LA, so it might be a little different because you actually seen the places they're talking about.
Well, I was like really, really little when the OJ thing happened.
Oh, really?
And so like I know of this event, and I know of like the glove and the like car chase, but like I didn't really like experience it, So it's this weird thing that like people talk about, and I think of course I see it like on like South Park or whatever, when they make fun of him or other shows. But yeah, it's this thing that like I don't really have a ton of knowledge about it, except for the fact that it definitely sounds like everyone agrees that he did it,
including the juror. Yeah. The best way for cultural context, it was the first time America felt like it feels right now because it was the very advent of 24-hour news. So it was like the first time that the nation was all hooked on like that. Not the nation that happened where we all had like 24-hour news. Like it took everything.
Right.
It's the best way. Yeah. And
then
it was over.
Oh,
and then we stopped. Then it stopped. There was an end date. I kind of missed that. It's like, all right, we'll be nuts about this for 3 months, and then we're done.
Totally. For me, the one was my first memorable, like, this is the news story that everyone's talking about, was the Casey Anthony case. That was the one that I was, like, completely aware of.
Yeah.
You missed that one? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I'm not really into the true crime wave, but what did she kill her kids?
Her daughter, yeah.
You shouldn't. That's not good.
And again, got away with it, even though it seems pretty obvious.
Do you have any hot takes there, Pat? Free Casey,
nope.
Free Casey, free OJ.
No thanks. I will say last podcast on the left has a really interesting episode about it where they go like in depth on the case. I wonder if they have an OJ one. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, that's it turned out in the twist of events. My friend from college she's actually a comedian, Rachel Wilson. Her mom is the judge that put OJ in jail for post murder for the kidnapping. And I was like watching the documentary and like not putting it together. I'm like, she looks so familiar. And like Rachel was like, I was her RA. I'm like, I definitely met you. Like, it was just so weird.
That is so
we
weird.
try to get her mom on.
Yeah.
We talk about OJ. What? Pat, I don't know what it is about you, Pat, but it always just turns into the 90s with you.
I am a
OJ
child of the,
and Michael Jordan.
it was a great decade for pop culture.
Well, I loved your Space Jam episode because it made me realize how terrible that movie is, but how much I think I love it, but I have not watched it in however long.
Did we say it was terrible? I thought we liked it.
I thought we liked it, but
Yeah,
it's not.
It was a bad movie, but you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You were all very kind to it, but yeah, it's not good. It makes a lot of like, this movie makes no sense.
Oh yeah, that's definitely, that happens.
This
a lot.
was made by commercial directors.
Oh right, that's right. The director
Just a
that
bunch
like
of commercials
should not
sewn
be
together.
the director that looked like yeah. Well, anyway, I won't. He can look however he wants. I won't attack his appearance, but he doesn't look like he should be making a child's movie. That's all I'm saying.
Are there any other movies like that really jump out that you went in one feeling and came out the other?
Well, for me, it was like Crocodile Dundee. I was like, I love this movie. This movie, I loved watching this movie as a kid, and then it was just like horrifying to watch him grab a transvestite by the pussy, and it was like, whoa, that happens in the movie.
Never saw that movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
But of course, the worst one is the Boondock Saints.
Boondock Saints. And then what was when we just did though? Well, just because we all, except for not Ash. Ash, you knew what we were getting into, but I think all of us were expecting. We just did the Mad Max one, just. Oh right. Just because we all were expecting, even our guest who suggested it, except for Ash, who is like a Mad Max fan and like knows these movies. So a lot of people, when they think of the first Mad Max, what they're thinking of is the Road Warrior, which is the sequel, which is technically the second one. The first Mad Max is very different from all the others, and that's the one that we did watch because we said we were watching. But me and our guest and I was like, oh, I definitely was thinking about the other one.
Yeah, that one was one for sure that Pat was like, this doesn't make any sense. This movie has so many logic plot holes. I remember you were really mad about that. You were like, but why? Why does he wait until, what was it?
Stuff just happens. Stuff just
happens. It's wild.
Do you ever have moments where you're like, if you had a movie that you're like, you didn't think you saw, and then it just like, it wasn't you erased it, it was just forgetful?
Yes. I've had ones where like I thought I didn't see it, and then as I'm watching the movie, I'm remembering everything like 10 seconds before it happens, and I'm like, oh, whoa. And then I've totally had ones where I'm like, oh, I've seen this movie, and then we watch it, and I'm like, I don't think I've seen this movie.
I love too, like there's a movie like I'll remember, and I'll ask everyone. Like perfect example, I just had this like a few months ago where I was at work or something. And I don't know how, but I was talking about the movie Mystery Men, and I spent a whole day, and no one like around me knew it existed. Like, that's not a thing. Like, yeah, Ben Stiller, Janine Garofalo.
It's so
it
good
came around
too.
It was really good. Kel.
Yeah.
And I saw it in the drive-in with my parents. We saw that in Bowfinger, another forgotten Eddie Murphy, Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy comedy.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. Bowfinger.
I don't remember it being good, but I was really young. But yeah, just one of those. I always love that too. You're like, I remember I did see. I saw Ready Player One in theaters, unfortunately, and there's like a few weeks later. It wasn't just bad. It was like it was Mother's Day, so I forgot how many weeks later. I remember really being enthralled with the Spider-Verse trailer and be like, "Oh man, I can't remember that Spider-Man movie." I'm like, "Oh, what did I see that with?" And I couldn't remember the movie. Like I had to call my brother-in-law. I'm like, "What did we see like 6 weeks ago?" Like I didn't hate it. I didn't I think I probably more hated it, but it left zero emotional impact on me. I just felt like my brain was wiped.
It's that
It's so bad.
I mean, I have problems with the book because the book is basically nerd boy wish fulfillment. But, like, the movie was, like, definitely way worse. And it's so shocking because it's Spielberg, right? And it just feels like he phoned it in. Sorry, Spielberg.
I don't even know if he was there.
Yeah, like, I don't mean to call you out, but, like, there's literally a Starbucks, like, in the background of one of the shots. And I'm like, this is supposed to be, like, a dystopian... like future. There's no Starbucks. What are you doing?
And there's like scenes that were just like so obviously like I forgot what it's called when they just kind of they tell you the dialogue because I know it's for kids, but it was like so blatant.
Oh,
like,
exposition.
Yeah, like and I'm not like a filmmaker, so like I shouldn't be picking up on that.
Yeah,
but like little kids were picking up on it. It's like they're just telling you exactly what they're doing. And then the whole plot point that you just drive backwards.
Oh, yeah, and that was not in the book.
No,
they completely made that up.
No one thought of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't Ash, you hit the one on the head with that. With just the wish fulfillment and the wish
fulfillment.
But then you have a character who is the girl who is an awesome character who's like strong and good and dynamic and interesting and has an interesting backstory and is like she should be the character. She should be who we're following, the hero, not Schlubby over here. Like, but
it makes me happy because Spielberg is obviously one of the greatest living filmmakers of all time, and sometimes not everything's good. And I think people need to when things aren't good, everyone just needs to give them a break. They all can't be winners.
Not everything can be joining call.
I know. I'm really. Can you tell us before we wrap it up? Who else is in your movie?
Yeah. So Matt Young, Ify Nodaway, Natalie Lynch, Tara Jane, Kiri Callaghan, Angelique Rockwood. Rockwood? Yeah. Rockwood. That sounds right. Oh no! I hope I'm not messing up her name. I'm gonna double check. Let's see. Yes, Rockwood. Gosh. I'm sorry, Angelique, if you're listening. And Brandon Herzenberg and Timmy Morgan. And then Brittany Joyner does an off-screen voice. She is the main character from Zombie Debt. So she came in and did an off-screen role for us. She's like one of the characters' wife. And she's yelling at him for using too much toilet paper during the call. And she actually, I mean, everything in the film I feel like really happened during the production of this film because she actually had COVID while we were recording. She was luckily well enough to record and she just had to do like a couple of lines, but yeah, it was crazy. Like we literally had technical difficulties. There were children coming in and interrupting the shoot, and just everything that could have happened for sure.
That's so exciting. I can't wait. It's like 5-10 years to go down the road and like get to come back to this experience. And like this will be a pivotal moment of like filmmaking changed around this in 2020 and whatever it will be, because it's going to be cool that you're kind of at the forefront of it,
Totally.
And obviously when you're making Mandalorian season 4.
Let's hope. Yeah, I dig that.
Baby Yoda's baby.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of my little buddy.
How cute! Oh, you have that too, right, Pat? Didn't you get him?
I don't have that one. I can go get my BB-8.
Oh, you have the BB-8. That's right.
Yeah,
Baby Yoda was brilliant. Definitely brilliant. That was such a smart idea.
Especially, do your kids like Baby Yoda too, Pat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, if you go to a park, I go anywhere where there's like with kids around. They're all wearing Baby Yoda shirts. Like it's oh my god. We literally run around the house with she treats her Baby Yoda. It's actually my wife's, but Felicity steals it. She treats Baby Yoda as if it's like a little kid with a baby doll, which is adorable.
That is
but she wakes up. We have to run. Good morning, Baby Yoda. She like picks it up and like shows it how to dig. and because it like makes noises, it's so fucking adorable.
Aww.
Oh my god, I
So
love that
cute.
Baby Yoda so much.
I wish I could give my dog stuffed toys. He just like eats them. But if I could, I would get him a Baby Yoda stuffed toy. It'd be so cute.
I don't know if I would keep it together if I ever get to meet like the puppet Baby Yoda. Like, I remember going to like.
That's what's
like,
so crazy about it. I love that it's
know.
practical and real.
Yes.
Because it.
Did you hear that
so
story about Werner Herzog? Like went to Disney. It's like, you cowards.
Yes, he called
Yes. I love that so much.
Oh
He
my
is
God.
so good in that role too.
I know.
So
Well,
incredible.
So wait, I mean, Ash, I don't know if you remember, because it was just, we did it, I do a Mandalorian podcast.
Wait, what?
You do?
Yeah.
Bury the lead?
I did it like a lark. We did it like I did it with some people from Geekly Inc. last year as like a lark when the first season came out. It's called Bounty Buddies. And yeah, we're like,
I feel like I do remember you mentioning
yeah,
this now.
because I mean, it's not like it's an ongoing thing, right? As the season comes out, it's 8 episodes, and then like
Got
pack it in
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
year. But
Are you doing another one?
yeah, we're gonna do this season, Bounty Buddies.
Now we have another reason to get you back on. Like we needed
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
That's so great.
That's so exciting. That's really cool. I mean, you both. That's pretty fun.
But,
Oh, I think before we wrap up, Pat, I hope I told you this off mic. I meant to if I didn't already, but I forgot where I was. But I was somewhere in the world, and like we were talking, so, like someone I knew, we were talking like the podcast. Like it was at work. It had to be at work.
mhm.
And my friend's boyfriend, like I mentioned something about the Red Opera, and they like lit up and they knew who you were because they watch you on Geekly Inc.
Oh,
So-
that's so cool.
That's
And
cool.
I was like, and so my friend, she hates nerd culture, and her boyfriend's a huge nerd, so she had no idea what we were talking about. And it's like, oh my god! So someone in Rhode Island is a fan of you. So
Awesome.
That's
it was really special. It rarely happens where you get real life people. At least at my job, no one ever knows what I'm talking about. I'm like the nerd there because I like Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty popular.
Yeah, you're like, guys, that's like entry level nerd card.
Yeah. I was like, I get yelled at home because I don't know enough about it. Oh my goodness. Oh well, this has been absolute pleasure. Anything that we missed? I know you have both of you have about 700 million things going on at once.
Ash, do you want to
Yes.
plug like the premiere?
Yeah, so the film is premiering November 20th. I don't know when this is coming out, but
Before November 20th.
Oh, perfect. So head
We'll have
on
it all lined
over to my YouTube channel. It's premiering on LaughstashTV is my YouTube channel, and that's stash like a stash of laughs. So it's STASH. Just Google it, you'll find it. We have tons of stuff on there. But yeah, Joining Call will premiere then. We don't have like a time lockdown at the moment, but definitely November 20th, unless something crazy happens, which could happen in between now and then because it's 2020.
Yep.
Who
Are you
knows?
gonna do like watch parties or anything?
I think, I mean, we've talked about wanting to do, it'll be like a premiere, so it's kind of like a live stream where like it's, the video will play like a live stream, and then there'll be a live chat so everyone can talk in the chat. And then we've talked about, I don't know where it's at in the planning phases, but we have talked about doing a D&D run of Pat's campaign with the cast, whoever we can get to play D&D. So we'll see. I don't know when that's scheduled yet. Rose is in charge of that one, so I don't know.
Oh, that's fun. We did our birthday bash. We watched a Spider-Verse watch like that with other people,
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
so much fun. That's the way of the future, these like virtual things like that, but that's so exciting.
That is so fun. That movie's so great too.
Yeah, it's perfect, I think.
Yeah.
Try to criticize it. I'm sure you
I love
could,
it.
but I won't.
Yeah.
I just love it so much. What about Pat? Where can people find you online, Pat? And
I
your
am-
multiple projects.
At the Pat Edwards on all platforms, or the website thepatedwards.com.
Nice. Oh, I haven't been to your website. I'll have to check it out.
I actually think
Well, my website is ashblodgett.com.
Oh, you guys were smart to use your actual names.
I know.
I
Well, I
fucked it
wasn't
up.
smart with the handles, which is why I just Google me and find it because they're different on every platform. And this was, look, it was before it was cool to have it the same everywhere. And back in 2012, it was like, what's your funny name that you figured out for this social media platform? And now I really regret it.
That's funny. It make it so impossible to change that stuff too.
Yeah.
I got in a window because that was not my original for like Twitter. I did have like a funny like name and but there was a period, I don't know, maybe they still can, where you could change your @ like the actual handle.
Oh, really? I wonder if you, well, mine is at Ash's Stash on Twitter, and at this point it's so like it's so established that it would be impossible to change it. But I wish my Instagram handle was the same, because my Instagram is like moose_ash, so it's like moustache, which was like really funny in 2012, but now no one can find me, so oh well.
I was fortunate enough to like steal the at Let's Chat podcast on a lot of stuff.
Nice.
Like I made a YouTube in 2014 and I just touched it for the first time, and like stuff like that. There's stuff like accounts I never even like Instagram. I would just steal stuff. Like I don't want someone else to have it. So that's the best tip. Anyone out there, steal everything and then try to just sit on it.
And it's so frustrating when you try to get one and it's like, this motherfucker over here has had this account for like years and they haven't posted in years and they have like 3 followers. Like, why? You wasted this.
It's like an egg every time. Every time. Like, I'll pay you. I will pay you. Oh, thank you so much. This was fun. So let me